Good afternoon. It's Friday, and today we're going to read Matthew chapter 22. Matthew chapter 22. And this starts off the parable of the wedding feast. And again, Jesus spoke to them in parables, saying, "The kingdom of heaven may be compared to a king who gave a wedding feast for his son, and sent his servants to call those who were invited to the wedding feast, but they would not come. Again, he sent other servants, saying, 'Tell those who are invited, see, I have prepared my dinner. My oxen and my fat calves have been slaughtered, and everything is ready. Come to the wedding feast.' But they paid no attention and went off, one to his farm, another to his business, while the rest seized his servants, treated them shamefully, and killed them. The king was angry, and he sent his troops and destroyed those murderers and burned their city. Then he said to his servants, 'The wedding feast is ready, but those invited were not worthy. Go therefore to the main roads and invite to the wedding feast as many as you find.' And those servants went out into the roads and gathered all whom they found, both bad and good, so the wedding hall was filled with guests." Now let me stop here just a second. I know in today's culture, a couple gets engaged, they set a wedding date, they order invitations, they send the invitations out, and it says the wedding will be an event of, I'm just going to say June the 12th, 4 p.m., such and such a church. Reception immediately following in the fellowship hall. All the detail is right there. And usually there's a little save the date card that you can tape to your calendar or tape in your planner or whatever. But immediately when you get the invitation, you know all the details. As soon as you get it in your hand, you know all the details. And usually there's an RSVP card if they're planning a big meal or something, to make sure that they have enough food and have the right kind of food for however many people are coming. Well, in the time that this was written, what would happen would be the parents of the groom would say, "Our son is getting married. Our son is getting married. We want you to come. Please be ready when we let you know." Well, if this was an important thing for you to be at, you made your plans not to plan anything. I mean, they would kind of have an idea of when it was coming, but they didn't have it narrowed down because the father had to get everything ready first. They had to build normally the father would build an extra part onto their home for the son and his wife to live in, for them to have their children in, and so forth and so on. He had all that to get done. And so it wasn't this is when it's going to be, but they would say, in the future, be ready. And so you would kind of know about when to expect. Well, you wouldn't plan things that you couldn't put off or whatever. So when it finally was time, the father would send word and say, "Okay, it's time, come now." And you would get your wedding clothes on and go, so that you would honor the couple. So these people knew that the wedding was coming, and they knew it was important for them to be there, and they still decided to have other things going on. And this was a king now. Okay, so back to the reading, verse 11. "But when the king came in to look at the guests, he saw there was a man who had no wedding garment. And he said to him, 'Friend, how did you get in here without a wedding garment?' And he was speechless. Then the king said to the attendants, 'Bind him hand and foot and cast him into the outer darkness. In that place there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. For many are called, but few are chosen.'" So again, when they approached this man, it was like everybody else. You go put your best coat on and come. You don't just show up. You brush your hair. You make sure you've got your best outer garments on. It would have taken a few minutes, but you got and hurried, and then when all the guests were there, then they had the ceremony. So you had time to prepare. It was just not that you knew immediately, here we go. So this man was he was disrespecting the king and his family. That's why that was done. Okay, the next section is titled Paying Taxes to Caesar. Then the Pharisees went and plotted how to entangle him in his words. And they sent their disciples to him along with the Herodians, saying, Teacher, we know that you are true and teach the way of God truthfully, and you do not care about anyone's opinion, for you are not swayed by appearances. Tell us then what you think. Is it lawful to pay taxes to Caesar or not? But Jesus, aware of their malice, said, Why put me to the test, you hypocrites? Show me the coin for the tax. And they brought him a denarius. And Jesus said to them, Whose likeness and inscription is this? They said, Caesar's. Then he said to them, Therefore render to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God's. When they heard it, they marveled, and they left him and they left him and went away. And the next section is titled Sadducees Ask About the Resurrection. Now, the Sadducees and the Pharisees were upper class men who had a lot of learning. They were supposed to be like wise men. They probably taught in the temples and taught in the schools, and they were responsible for making sure that the scriptures were upheld. So they knew a lot about the scripture. That same day the Sadducees came to him, who say that there is no resurrection, and they asked him a question, saying, Teacher, Moses said if a man dies having no children, his brother must marry the widow and raise up offspring for his brother. Now there were 7 brothers among us. The first married and died, and having no offspring, left his wife to his brother. Now they did that so that each son's family name would continue. The first child that the wife had after the new marriage belonged to the dead husband, and that way that was considered his family line to continue going on. Their family genealogy was very important to them. And then the other children would be her new husband's children. So too the second and third down to the 7th. After them all, the woman died. In the resurrection, therefore, of the 7, whose wife will she be? For they all had her. But Jesus answered them, You are wrong, because you know neither the Scriptures nor the power of God. For in the resurrection they will neither marry nor are given in marriage, but are like the angels in heaven. In other words, no marriage or no acting like you're married, in case there are children watching. That does not mean we're going to be like the angels, but in that way we will be like the angels because the angels don't marry. Verse 31, And as for the resurrection of the dead, have you not read what was said to you by God? I am the God of Abraham, and the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. He is not God of the dead, but of the living. And when the crowd heard it, they were astonished at his teaching. And then the next section is titled The Great Commandment. But when the Pharisees heard that he had silenced the Sadducees, they gathered together. And one of them, a lawyer, asked him a question to test him. Teacher, which is the great commandment in the law? And he said to him, You shall love You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the great and first commandment, and a second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these 2 commandments depend all the law and the prophets. Now I know I keep stopping and starting, but I do want to mention this to you. We've discussed several times, I've talked with other people, I've heard this taught, who's your neighbor? Well, your neighbor is anybody you come in contact with. In my case, it might be my next door neighbors that away, or over that away, or back behind me. But it's also the people I run into in the grocery store. I'm supposed to treat them with love and respect. If I go to Walmart this afternoon and I'm within arm's length of anybody, those people are my neighbors. Not my physical home neighbors, but they are my neighbors because they are near me. And I'm supposed to, so in other words, Anybody that I come in contact, I'm supposed to treat them with love and respect. Okay. Whose son is the Christ? Verse 41. Now while the Pharisees were gathered together, Jesus asked them a question, saying, What do you think about the Christ? Whose son is he? They said to him, The son of David. He said to them, How is it then that David in the Spirit calls him Lord, saying, The Lord said to my Lord, Sit at my right hand until I put my enemies under your feet. If then David calls him Lord, how is he his son? And no one was able to answer him a word, nor from that day did anyone dare to ask him any more questions. Now, Jesus was from the lineage of David, so David would have been one of his ancestors, or the way they called it, his father, because they would say our fathers, meaning fathers, father, grandfather, great-grandfather, all the way back. That was their ancestors. They just referred to them as their fathers. So David was a ancestor to Jesus, but Jesus was there before the beginning of the word. It says in John, I think it's John 14:1, or maybe it's John 1:1, but anyway, it says, it's John 1:1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God. And the Word is what spoke the world into existence. So that's actually Jesus, because his name was the Word, or the Son, before he was born. Jesus is the name, in which it's not really Jesus. That's just the name that we use. But his name while he was on earth was Jesus. Probably closer to something like Joshua or something. I've heard different people pronounce it different ways. But I promise, Jesus, as long as you're calling on him in a way that you need him and you want to worship him and recognize him, it doesn't matter to him what you call him. I will tell y'all a little funny. When our oldest grandson was born, Randy and I talked about what we wanted to be called, and Randy wanted to be Pawpaw. He loved the idea of being Pawpaw. And sometimes he would put his overalls on and he would say he had his Pawpaw breeches on. He loved being a Pawpaw. He loved that. And I chose Granny. I've just always loved the nickname Granny, and partly because of the Beverly Hillbillies. I thought, man, if I can be as cool as the Granny on there, I will be all right. Because now, she fought for the ones that she loved. She rode motorcycles. She fought the Indians. She got to meet John Wayne. All those things. She stood up for what she believed in. She didn't care what her neighbors thought, as far as she did what was right, not what was socially acceptable. Hey, baby. So, Granny. Now, some of my grandchildren don't call me Granny because they came into the family already on up a little bit older. And so they call me Beth. And listen, it does not bother me a bit. I love it. I'm just glad they want to call me anything. But now my youngest granddaughter, for whatever reason, has decided that my name is Rakey, R-A-K-E-Y. I mean, that's the way I'm, thinking you spell it. But that's what she says, Rakey. I tried to get her to say Granny. When she was with me, she might call me Mommy because her mama was Mom, or Mama, and so she might call me Mommy. And of course, I would answer to that, and she would say it, and I would answer before I thought about it. But she has started calling me Reiki, and I love it. I don't care what my grandchildren call me, as long as they want to talk to me. It thrills me to death. And I have other children. I met a new grandfriend the other day. Thank you, Terry Shaw. And she said, does she really call you Reiki? I said, yes, she does. And I said, if you want to, you can call me Reiki too. I said, my other grandkids call me Granny, so whichever one you want to call me, I'll be glad for you to call me. And so she started calling me Reiki. Well, that's fine too. She's one of my, I'm gonna claim her, that she's one of my grandfriends, and I want to know how she's doing, and I want to keep up with her. So, and I'm sure if you're a grandparent or an aunt or anything else, I'm sure that you don't care what the little kids call you, as long as they want to talk to you. My dear friend, Miss Pat Davis, who has gone on to be with the Lord, but she chose Yaya. And and it suited her. It suited her. And I know her grandchildren call her Yaya, but I believe her nieces and nephews call her that too, because she was the only Yaya in the family. And it suited her. And so, you know what I'm saying. It doesn't matter what we call Jesus, as long as we're being respectful. He wants us to call him. That's the big thing. So anyway, that was Matthew chapter 22. Today is Friday. I'm going to do my best to get on here tomorrow and read. I think I may have missed yesterday, but I had kind of an exciting day yesterday. But thank y'all for bearing with me. Thank y'all for joining me every day. And again, anytime I say something, if it doesn't make sense, please ask. You can ask by going to the comments at the bottom of the video, or you can send me a message, or you can call me. I don't care. I don't want to confuse anybody. And sometimes I'm like anybody else. Sometimes I may say something and I may say it wrong, and I don't do that intentionally, but if I've messed up, I want to know it so that I can correct it, because I do not want to be, this is too important a thing to be teaching somebody the wrong thing. So anyway, thank y'all for your patience. Thank y'all for joining me, and we're almost through with Matthew.